Today, we're going to be utilizing a number of different sources to analyze Bhad Bhabie's newest music video, OG Crash Out, but more specifically, how disconcertedly it contributes to the male gaze. Anything I reference will be attributed accordingly, but we will be mostly pulling quotes from the short movie Dreamworld's 3 Desire, Sex, and Power in Music Video. Under the male gaze. Women's bodies are surveyed, looked at, analyzed in the same way that one might examine a landscape or an object. Their function, in the videos, music videos in this example, is to be examined, gazed at, desired by men. The camera angles used to shoot women reinforces this view. Playing into the male gaze has long been a way for many women to excel in their careers, but at the same time, at the cost of any nuance or substance. Society deems the women who take part in this dream world as much less than they are worth. They receive their fair share of haters, incels, stalkers, and creeps, but ultimately, many are successful in this capitalization of sexuality. The women of the dream world are fragmented, and presented as a number of simple and disconnected body parts. This is a common filmic technique. It is a way to present women as an object of the male gaze. In the same way that photojournalism commonly exploits our rapid cognition, these fragmented and disconnected body parts are easily sold to impressionable, mostly young audiences. To those that direct these videos, they are simply selling sex, but in reality, they are selling the image, identity, and livelihood of these women. The way in which women are filmed, not simply what they are doing or wearing, communicates messages and ideas about them. Specifically, focusing only on one aspect of people, women in this case, detracts from thinking about them as real people, with feelings, emotions, thoughts, intellect, their own dreams and desires. Instead, they are just legs in high heels. In the same way that Sontag posits that to photograph people is to violate them, these women are violated, in that they take on an entirely different identity, one manufactured, coordinated, and tailored to the male gaze. These women, directed to act as they never see themselves, are recorded and in turn forever linked to knowledge of them they can never have, which memorializes and or reinforces a status quo which turns women into objects that can become symbolically possessed. There's no better recent example of this than with Danielle Bregoli, aka Bhad Bhabie, and the men she's been surrounded by for as long as she's held cultural relevance. She first entered the limelight in 2016 as a troubled teen on Dr. Phil. Her episode was titled, "I Want to Give Up My Car-Stealing, Knife-Wielding, Twerking 13-Year-Old Daughter Who Tried to Frame Me for a Crime," which immediately bore a fiendishly sexual and or pedophilic undertone, of which was only exacerbated by her career to follow. Adam Kluger, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I don't really care to be honest, Bregoli's most predominant agent, had made his intentions regarding her role as an artist very clear. He knew she was a troubled kid. He, like many others, discovered her on Dr. Phil, but he wanted to capitalize off of her controversial delinquency. Regardless of what was considered age-appropriate or in her best interests, he knew, like many music video directors, he could transform her into something marketable, to not just girls like her, but to a largely older male audience. Kluger claims he wanted to brand her, a 13-year-old kid, as a supervillain, so much so that other kids would have to hide her from their parents. Kluger is one of many adult men who have exploited Bregoli, but for better or worse, her career as Bhad Bhabie has steadily grown over the past 8 years. Now that we have a basic understanding of Bregoli's circumstances, I want to play a few parts of the music video where the male gaze is especially apparent, and to point out, yet again, another group of men that have exploited her in some way. In Dreamworld's 3, shifting blame to the directors and creators of these media is a common theme, and might just be the most productive path towards diminishing its functions. There seems to be no escape from male video directors wedded to the pornographic imagination. We see this here with real-world Jake, who's notably male, and he's almost certainly wedded to the pornographic imagination, not only because he directed Bregoli in a way that perpetuates the male gaze, but also in the misogynistic editing throughout the video. The editing is just mean-spirited and just tears down the other girl in the video. It kind of mirrors like body dysmorphia. And just glancing at a few of his other projects, this use of women in music videos seems to be a consistent theme. They wear revealing clothes, stand beside the leading man, and generally offer nothing else beyond the sexual gratification of the viewer. Piggybacking off that, the creative director of OG Crash Out, Loopy Farrell, shared a post with Bhad Bhabie on his Instagram. The two seem to be together in good spirits, and the caption is especially positive or hopeful. What confuses me, though, is how someone who made the creative decisions in OG Crash Out can turn around and attempt to inspire their audience, when one of their most recent projects is so deeply associated with hating oneself. Leaning into the thralls of the male gaze isn't inherently bad, but what if those involved are unaware of its consequences? I'm willing to bet that most women would agree that the male gaze is not something many of them are concerned with appeasing, and there are certainly areas where women can effectively game it, but the current reality of our media is far more complicated than we'd like to admit. In a society that allows us to transform women into objects of sexual gratification or entertainment, videos like OG Crash Out will only further ostracize and belittle the people it attacks, and its fragmented and overtly sexualized themes will only further play into the toxic functions of the male gaze.